In the opening match of the Worlds 2022 group stage, North American first seed Cloud9 squared off against the LEC's Fnatic, who came fresh out of the play-in stage. We got to see a bit of what the meta could be like in play-ins, but it is here where we truly get to see how the best teams interpret the meta, and rapid adaptations and adjustments from others are soon to follow. This game is super interesting because I actually think it's a case of how the better team ended up losing because of a worse draft. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to drop a sub for more content like this. Let's hop into the draft. In the Phase 1 bans, C9 opted to remove Graves, Trundle, and Caitlyn, while Fnatic removed Yuumi, Olaf, and Aatrox. We have a few specific bans here, specifically noting the Trundle and Olaf bans. C9 likely are using their bans to help best shield their B1, whereas the Olaf ban might be a special tech ban from scrims or something like that. Everything else I'd say is relatively standard. Out of the bans, C9 opens Sejuani, which has been seeing an increase in priority thanks to her overall flexibility. Like I've mentioned in other videos with her, Sejuani is so well coveted right now thanks to her ability to show effectively nothing about what your draft is really about. She has a generalist kit that works well in pretty much any team composition right now, and also is flexed across both top and jungle, being hard for teams to draft counters in both lanes easily. Because of this, more teams have been holding their cards by opening this champion and then all-ending their comp on B4, B5 when they have a better read. Maokai would also be a decent pick here, just with slower game pace. Fnatic go ahead and sweep that Maokai right up, as well as take the Aphelios. ADC priorities have interestingly been all over the place, as most of the strong ADCs do actually have inherent counters or weaknesses, so although picking them early nets you a decent champion, the big caveat to this is that the enemy has a lot of time to counter your composition overall. So ironically, teams have just been prioritizing other ADCs that can be blinded, because it ends up being less of a hindrance overall on the draft. Aphelios fits this build nicely because he can neutralize and do well in many lanes, defined by his overall front-to-back playstyle that can reward offensive or defensive play. MF is the counter pick here for C9 as well as Nautilus. I'd say this is relatively standard, but keep in mind that the lane dominance that this lane would normally have is neutralized by Aphelios. For R3, Humanoid secures the Azir for himself, basically establishing the front-to-back condition for Fnatic. Moving into Phase 2, both teams are relatively focused on strong team fighting, with more of an emphasis on a standard FTB for Fnatic, whereas C9 has more room for pick potential. Fnatic opt to attack the mid pool here, as the entire top lane field is pretty much open, plus C9 have the flexibility to move Sejuani top lane if they need to. Victor and Sylas are the bans here, which are two picks that match well with C9's comp and can also match Fnatic's front to back, which is probably the main way they lose right now. This draft is a matter of just stat checking the enemy team, so these are two champions that could potentially cause a lot of problems for Fnatic. Notable other matchups still available to keep an eye out for here are the LeBlanc and the Akali for C9 as well, so if Fnatic can dedicate their last two picks to help answer those matchups, they will be in a good spot. C9 used their bans on Leona and Renekton. While I think these are okay bans on paper, I think these are not strong bans relative to what the Fnatic comp wants to do. Leona makes sense as she's a generalist engage support that can cause problems for MF, but Renekton should not be a problem for them. They should be cognizant of what Fnatic's comp wants to do, so I probably would have burned this pick on a champion like Ornn or Gnar, as they don't really have the tools to answer it. On R4, Fnatic have pretty much the rest of the support pool open, so they commit to a backward support in the Renata. Saving R5 for top here is the most ideal in this position, and they have a general understanding as to how C9's fights will function, so it's pretty good in this slot. With this, it also locks down a winning matchup for bot side for Fnatic, which should not normally be allowed into MF Nautilus. To round out their comp, C9 commit to their solo lanes with LeBlanc and Fiora. On paper, these are decent picks to go for because it basically secures winning lanes in top and mid, which gives C9 a lot of fuel to enable this Fiora lane. My main gripe with this is that I also believe that C9's comp needs resources bot side to shut down the Aphelios Renata lane if they've opted for a draft revolving around MF and Nautilus. LeBlanc definitely enables herself to facilitate these plays, but both sides of the map are going to require resources in order to win out. I either would have liked to see a blind pick weak side champion for C9 like Ornn, Gnar, or Kennen, so they can commit resources bot side, or they actually reshift their priority in first phase so that their draft isn't so tied around MF. Binding LeBlanc is likely fine in B2, B3, and you can pick generalist supports like Nautilus in this phase and simply adjust your AD pick to meet the situation. In the R5, Fnatic round out with Ornn, and Wunder is going to a pretty bad matchup for himself, but the pick is good with the context of the rest of C9's comp. Ornn, especially paired with Maokai now, makes Fnatic's frontline very strong and hard for MF to melt through, which is her main weakness compositionally. We can also remember that both of these champions have long-range disrupts that can help curb C9's engage. With this pick, Fnatic pretty much secure a win in the 5v5 scenario, so as long as they're creating those situations as often as possible, they will be in a good spot. There's still a lot of room for C9 to play and win, but it's a tight margin for execution on multiple areas around the map that need help to gain advantages. I think it's possible for them to leave Fiora alone in this matchup and then move resources down to bot side, but it's definitely pretty risky to do that in this scenario. Overall, because of the pressure to perform and Fnatic's ability to sort of just do nothing and be able to outscale, I'd actually rate this draft 60-40 Fnatic. As always though, hopefully this was insightful to you guys, and I will catch you in the next one. Stay fresh.
Said, no.